All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are stripping away the centuries and going on a bit of an archaeological journey to uncover the hidden roots of one of the world's most famous ancient realms. So let's dive right into Cambodia before Angkor. We all instantly recognize the breathtaking grandeur of Angkor Wat. It's iconic, it's absolutely massive, and it's a true testament to human ingenuity. But here's the thing. It didn't just appear out of thin air. It was actually the culmination of centuries of cultural and architectural evolution. And that brings us to a really compelling mystery. Who actually laid the groundwork for all of this? I mean, who were the people testing the engineering, developing the art styles, and building the societal structures that eventually made the mighty Angkor Empire even possible? Well, to figure this out, we're going to act like archaeologists today. We'll start with Cambodia before Angkor, look at the nature that nurtures culture, examine the transition from Funan to Chenla, visit the forest capital of Sambor Prei, explore the origins of Khmer art, and finally reflect on some memories carved into those ruins. Okay, starting right off with our first layer of excavation. Section 1, Cambodia before Angkor. Looking at this timeline, you can see that way before the famous Angkor era kicked off in the 9th century, the region was shaped by two really distinct earlier periods. From the 1st to the 7th century, we have the Funan era. Then, stretching from the 7th into the 8th century, we hit the pre-Angkor, or Chenla era. These are basically the crucial stepping stones to the empire we know today. Which brings us to Section 2, Nature that Nurtures Culture. Because to understand why these early empires succeeded, we have to look at the ground they were built on. You know the old saying, geography is destiny? Well, it is absolutely true here. When we look at the physical map of the Mekong system alongside the passage of time, it becomes super clear that human interaction with this incredibly dynamic landscape is exactly what birthed Khmer civilization. And what a landscape it is. This water system acts almost like a giant breathing lung. Think about this. The Tonle Sap Lake literally expands its surface area up to 3 times its size during the rainy season. Fed by the mighty Mekong River, it creates this insanely rich agricultural and fishing foundation. In fact, it still boasts one of the highest inland fish catches globally. Because of this massive natural engine, early societies thrived, just like how 80% of the population today still relies on that very same agricultural wealth. All right, moving to Section 3, the big transition from Funan to Chenla, which happened right around the 6th century. So we have a tale of two very different powers here. Funan was this coastal, international maritime trade hub operating down out of the Mekong Delta. Chenla, on the other hand, was an inland, agriculture-focused powerhouse heavily utilizing those Mekong and Tonle Sap river systems. Over time, all that wealth from the inland harvests basically gave Chenla the upper hand, and they eventually absorbed Funan entirely. Right at the heart of this booming, newly dominant inland empire was its capital, Ishanapura. Built in the 7th century by King Ishanavarman I, this city, hidden deep out in the forest, actually represents the very first major urban center ever constructed by the Khmer people. Let's zoom in on what's left of that city today in Section 4, the forest capital Sambor Prei. Picture yourself taking a walking tour through this quiet, super atmospheric forest. The site is huge, but it's mainly divided into 3 distinct zones of 7th century brick shrines. First, there's the South Group, which is where they found the absolute oldest inscriptions of the kingdom's founder. A short walk away is the Central Group, which is guarded by these massive lion statues. And finally, you have the North Group, the oldest cluster of them all, holding some truly deep historical ties. As we wander through these sprawling ruins, we hit Section 5, the origins of Khmer art. You have to check out this concept of the Flying Palace. It is so cool and totally unique to this exact time and site. The ancient builders carved these incredibly intricate, highly detailed reliefs straight into the exterior walls of these rare octagonal brick shrines. It's just a breathtaking demonstration of their early craftsmanship before they ever moved on to sandstone. What's wild about the art here is the blend of global influences. On one hand, you've got deep Indian Hindu roots, think scenes from the Ramayana epic and statues of Hindu gods. But look a little closer and you'll find these mysterious Hellenistic Western motifs. Literally, there are carvings of griffins, the Greek mythological creatures with a lion's body and an eagle's head, plus stone faces with distinctly non-Khmer Western features. It's this amazing melting pot of cultural exchange before a uniquely Khmer national style took over. So these architectural and artistic details prove that Sambor Prei wasn't just some basic settlement. This was a highly sophisticated cultural hub. They were mastering brick techniques on these tricky octagonal foundations. It housed the spectacular goddess Durga statue, which is actually often called the Eastern Venus because of its incredible curves. They had statues of Harihara, a really unique deity that blends Shiva and Vishnu into one body. And of course, those imposing lion statues proudly guarding the central sanctuaries. And it wasn't just about looking good. Even the super steep, challenging layouts of these early temples were totally intentional. The architecture was designed to physically reflect the Hindu cosmology of Mount Meru, the sacred five-peaked mountain at the center of the universe. This exact spiritual concept was born right here, and as we know, it would later be scaled up and perfected in the massive sandstone pyramids of the Angkor era. That brings us to our final stop today, Section 6, Memories Carved in Ruins. It's a pretty heavy realization when you're walking around Sambor Prei today. You're not just looking at the 7th century. These ancient bricks survived the elements for over 1,000 years, sure, but they also bear the literal physical scars of Cambodia's tragic recent civil conflicts. You can actually see bullet holes in the ancient walls and remnants of anti-tank mine warnings from the intense fighting that tore through here between the 1970s and 90s. But right alongside those physical scars of war, you find these really moving stories of resilience and international cooperation. On the road to the ruins, there is profound local gratitude for Atsuhito Nakata. He was a Japanese UN volunteer who dedicated and tragically lost his life in this region in 1993 while helping to monitor democratic elections. Today, his legacy of peace is honored by the nearby Atsu village and Atsu school, which is a beautiful reminder that out of conflict, new growth can emerge. So, I'm going to leave you with this to think about. Sambor Prei really shows us that human history is layered, right? From ancient empires rising out of the water systems to modern tragedies to international healing. As history continuously unfolds around us, how will our present actions shape the cultural heritage of tomorrow? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.